So, hello everyone. I'm Dustin Richardson from the Burbank International Film Festival. Today we continue our interview series Beyond the Frame with some of the incredible team behind one of our feature film selections, Bau, Artists at War, which is a beautiful and a phenomenal film based on a true story that is considered as one of the greatest love stories of the 20th century. And I absolutely agree, this film is phenomenal. And the film was directed by McNamara, who is joining us today, and the film stars Emile Hirsch and Inbar Lavi. Inbar is here as well. And we also have Deborah, Marc, and Michelle. So hello everybody. It's so great to see you.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah, how is everybody?
Good.
It's a warm summer day in LA.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations on being an official selection. This is so exciting. So, Sean, to get us started, could you please tell our viewers what this film is about?
It's the amazing love story of Joseph and Rebecca Bau back in Plaszow concentration camp. And it's how these two came together in the worst of conditions and fell in love. And their love got them through their stay in a horrible, horrible concentration camp. But I'm going to tell you, Deborah is going to be far more eloquent than I am because she's our writer. So, Deborah, why don't you just fill in there?
Their backstory is that they were raised in Poland. Joseph and Rebecca were raised in Poland. And the two of them met in the camp. And both of them were doing their best to save others in the camp. Joseph was an artist and he did forgeries, helping get the ID cards. He was actually able to forge ID cards to get the Jews to look like they were non-Jews and be able to get back into circulation. And they had quite a lot of different methods of how they get them out of the camp. And so Rebecca, on the other hand, was the, what do you call it? Now I'm blanking on what it's called when you do the hands. The
Manicurist.
Manicurist. Thank you so much for being a writer. Anyway. So, yeah, that's right. Michelle is one too. She's very good. In any case, she was the manicurist of the evil commandant, and she would see the list of people who are being executed that week. She would actually find those people. There were about 20,000 people in the camp. So when they could find the people that were about to be executed, they would hide them either in the latrines or in the rafters of the barracks and saved many people that way. So she was doing that on the side while he was helping people get out of the camps.
It's not in the film, but we also have a documentary coming out, and Rebecca would be punished when they figured out, because she spoke perfect German, and when they figured out that she was overhearing the conversations while she did nails of Amon Goeth, they figured out she was the spy, and they warned her that if people disappeared, that she would be held accountable. And so they punished her by forcing her to stand in frozen mud for 2 days. And this happened repeatedly. Oddly enough, they never executed her. The Joseph and Rebecca Bau story is a story of miracles, pretty much one after the other.
And love trumping evil.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
This world needs to hear right now.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that this film resonates. Positive message of love and people caring for people and overcoming the rifts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So we're excited about this film and people hearing the story. Joseph's such an incredible guy. The film is very unique. It's I call it Schindler's List 2.0, but with a twist. And there's comedy in this, and there's things you wouldn't expect in a Holocaust film. I'm Jewish by my roots and probably seen every Holocaust film leading up to this, and there's nothing quite out there like this. And I think it's timely. I think for the Gen Zers and the younger audiences, it's a little more palatable approach to learning about the Holocaust. Schindler's List was the epic of epics, and we all love it, but it's a tough one for 14-year-old or whatever potentially. And this is spoon feedable, if you will, and it's entertaining and it's true.
How does this work?
I'm waiting for the sunshine.
Looks like you might have a problem.
Maybe you can be my sunshine. Mama, I met the most wonderful woman for being my sunshine.
Only you yourself would find something like that in a place like this.
Inbar, you are incredible in this film. You play Rebecca. What was it like being a part of this production? And since the film is based on real people and events, what sort of research or preparation did you do to play this part?
Thank you so much for saying that. I've been a part of this project for, 2 years now, guys?
At least. Yeah.
Because I've been approached with the script, and then, it took a very long time for it to actually happen and come to life. And And then I shot it, and then I let that go the way that we do in this business, and then it's in someone else's hands. And now I sit here with you and I hear everyone speaking so beautifully about this incredible couple and this unbelievable story. And I'm just as moved as when I was when I first received those pages and when I first stepped foot in the barracks and I got to see all the sets come to life. And when I first met their daughters and, got to speak their words. And I will forever be so incredibly grateful that I get to be a part of this unique and amazing tale. It's unbelievable that this truly happened. And it's a reminder of real love. And it's a reminder of hope and faith when faith doesn't seem possible anymore. It's almost like hope lost hope on hope at this time. And even now, right now, anti-Semitism is growing and very much alive everywhere. And we're doing the right thing, speaking about it and sharing, shedding some light on a very dark matter in a very beautiful, heartfelt way, which I think is the only way to fight darkness. And so how did it feel? It felt amazing, and it still feels amazing at every moment. And, obviously stepping into these shoes was so, terrifying because there was so much responsibility whenever you do a role, but when it's a real live person and you want to do it justice. And I was so in love with this couple and these people that it became my mission in life to do them right. And, I was very lucky to have had these amazing group of people that you see right now with the amazing producers and Sean and my co-stars who, with everything, every single thing, were completely open. And the door was always open to have a conversation and to hear my thoughts and to really acknowledge and listen and find whatever was best for this couple and their story and our mission. I'm so grateful that that's how it was, made it a lot easier.
I think we all agree that she was probably the most amazing person to work with. Again, invested in the project, so researched, and such a quintessential actress of this. It's such extraordinary quality, a perfectionist. I remember this. There's a scene, I don't know which one it was one of the climax scenes in the film. And it was probably one of the most emotional scenes between she and Emile. And everybody's watching the monitor and we're all in tears. And it's like, oh my God, in like one take, we've got it, right? And she comes off, she goes, I really wasn't feeling it, and it's like, she's just a perfectionist. And that's Inbar.
Yeah. I'd like to add to that too, that she made the effort to see the daughters. I've been friends with the daughters for 15 years now, and she was the only person that came to visit them that was ever a part of our filmmaking process, other than us producers. She wanted to get to know the daughters. The museum is still there in Tel Aviv, Joseph Bau's museum. She went there, spent time with them. She still is interacting with the daughters. It made them feel so special that an actress from Hollywood would come and make that effort and care enough to really hear what they wanted to tell her about their parents. So I just really wanted to give her a lot of applause for doing that.
Well, it's very true. And Inbar also read all of Rebecca's memoirs, really understand who Rebecca was in her own words, and so she went that extra mile in that way too.
She was made for the part.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was a joy. It was just, such a remarkable person Rebecca was.
And Inbar, you use the word mission. This project was more than a project. It was a mission. It was a mission from, 15 years ago when Debbie found the story to 6.5 years ago when Mark and I came on, to 5.5 years ago when Sean and David came on, to probably 2+ years ago, if not a lot more, when Inbar came on. And so it has been a labor of love for us all, and even for our crew, the prop master and the makeup artist. And I mean, everybody was, the costume designer, everybody was very vested in this project. They were giving it 150%, and you could feel it on the set.
Yeah.
Everybody had that common goal of telling this story.
Yeah, there's respect for sure.
When I read the book, there were these incredible charcoal drawings that Joseph Bau had done. And I just thought, I've been studying just all, I went to film school, but I never stopped studying films. And I've been studying the silent era where they would put up a title. I just thought it would be cool if we put his art would be the only thing that suggested what the scene was about to happen. We don't really have any words on the screen at all, just drawings that Joseph Bau made. And those became, I call them Bau bongs, because we'd have a loud bong when we hit them. But it was just basically a scene from the movie that we did. And that was our intro to each scene. So it was kind of cool.
This was something I really wanted to discuss, that the film has these amazing visual effects, and I'll only bring up ones we see in the trailer, but there are some unforgettable moments of animation or just these fun little effects that show up that you don't really expect, like the projector scene or Joseph's flip books, and then this genius choice about the color. When we're in color, when we're in black and white, when we're kind of faded, and all these choices were just so moving and stood out to me as an audience member because it made me feel like you were letting us see through Joseph's eyes. One of my favorite examples of this was with you, Inbar, where the world was black and white, but these animated flowers start to sprout in color as you walk away. That is such a beautiful shot. So my question for you all is, what was the decision-making process for these fun little moments like this? How did these come together, and what did they mean to you?
I see you. You take care of everybody. But who takes care of you?
Initially, some of these things were in the script, which started it. And I remember when we went over to Joseph and Rebecca's studio, they have all these things. They have his projectors and his paintings. And that one painting with all these super colorful flowers were there. So it started with seeing that. And then it was like, how do we put these into the movie? And I think Deborah wrote those into the movie. They were part of it from the beginning. But it's also to see how an artist sees things. Artists see things differently than we do. They'll look at, still life, and they just see it differently, and then they paint it. And I just thought when he would look around, he saw Rebecca, in a whole different way. He fell in love with her. She was his sunshine. And it was just cool to try to come up with something. And they were challenging to figure out what he would actually see. But that was really important. And then it starts off in color, a little, muted color, and then we made a decision that it got less color when they went to the ghetto, and then all the color was taken out when they went to the concentration camp. And then every time we'd cut back to Tel Aviv, it would be back in the 70s color, that sort of a look. So we saw a difference with that. And it just creatively, we weren't even sure we wanted to do it, but we did end up doing it. And I think it turned out pretty good, with how we saw, life through that lens.
You mentioned special effects as well. I mean, the art is such a huge part in this. Joseph was such an artist and all, but from the special effects standpoint in this film, this was such a long process. And, we originally were going to shoot in Europe, in Poland or Romania. We got shut down there on a location scout because of COVID. We came back, and then we were gearing back up again and going to go look at some of the areas back in Europe again. And then the Ukraine war breaks out. That pauses us again. And then Sean's genius was, we can do this up at Vancouver. And he had all the great connections and everything, but one thing missing up there is you got lots of trees, but you don't have any of the historics and any of the visuals that you would naturally have background there. And Eastern Europe, if we had actually shot there, Sean brought in our amazing special effects team headed by Scott Coulter. Visual effects. And boy, I was blown away about what they could create.
We went to a small, Western town, and then we built our camp over it. And then in the wide shots, we used CG. A funny, just Inbar story is, we went out of our way to get her eyes to be blue because the real Rebecca's eyes were blue. And I feel so bad because Inbar was such a trooper and put these lenses in every single day of our shoot. And then we turned the whole thing black and white. So
we worked so hard.
She does have them in the courtroom scene, so I think it was worth it. But my goodness, did she give it all for her art for something that we can't really tell in the black and white scenes?
Yeah.
So,
we got the best blue lens person out. I remember that day getting that, trying them on and sizing them, and it's not making me cry and tear that much. I think I can do it, and then bam, it just comes out in one dial of the color.
Her eyes were irritated every day.
I would do it again and again and again. It was all a part of the mission, and I think specifically with a story like this where so much of their identity had to be hidden at that time. I mean, hell, some Jewish people are afraid to uncover their identity these days. I mean, it's happening all over again. And so for me, it was very important that we are staying true to their heritage and who they were. I mean, her Polish accent to the texture of her hair to the color of her eyes and the skin tone, everything was really important for me. So, I was lucky to have this amazing team that helped me put her perfectly together and as close to the original as we could. And the blue eyes in the courtroom scene pop. And if and we got it there. So to me, it was worth it. It was all worth it.
But also, I mean, just the performances that we got out of Inbar. I mean, we've been testing this movie, as we finished the movie, we brought it out to the audiences and they love Inbar's performance. And it's like the heart and soul of the movie. And many people comment on, she's so good. Where'd you find this person? And da-da-da-da. So we feel so lucky to have gotten to meet with her to do this because Rebecca is the heart and soul of the movie. Without Rebecca being right there with Joseph, there would not be a movie here. It is the love story that comes through. But the heart she had, the real Rebecca, and then Inbar finding that heart and getting it to come across on screen was amazing. It's not easy to do because if you think about it, in the most horrific conditions you could think of, I mean, we saw it in Schindler's List. Their story was like a smaller little side story, but we made it the complete story. And that love relationship just soars through the movie in large part to Inbar. So it was a joy just to work with that every single day and watch that happen.
Truly.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're incredible, Inbar. And you and Emile, I wanted to bring that up too, that both of your chemistry together is so wonderful too. What was it like working with him?
It was great. I've been watching his work forever, and I think like anybody else who's seen anything he's ever done, I got to fall in love with him through the screen. And so I was very nervous to finally meet him, and I was super excited to get to collaborate with him. And he's a super down-to-earth guy. As soon as I met him, I didn't feel intimidated at all, and I felt like, if anything, we have very different ways of working, and it was really interesting to see how someone else attacks material and is able to bring, I guess, a different way of work to set. It was just effortless. Once the camera started rolling, I could see, he has this natural raw talent that just exudes like as soon as that camera starts. And it's almost like once the camera stops, he's almost a different person. but once it's on, it's like immediate too. Like for me, it takes me a lot longer. I have to kind of stay in character throughout the entire process. And for him, it seems like he can snap in and out of it. And I think that's a true sign of raw talent. And I had a lot of fun, honestly, working with him.
I know Emile would have loved to have been on this call. He's shooting today and couldn't be here, but it was such an experience working with him too. He's, we all think of, at least I thought of Emile, what was he? He was Into the Wild and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Lone Survivor, these male, very, raw things. And we found that he was just he was such a comedy writer.
Yeah. I do not speak German. You can kiss my ass as you like. You didn't.
Is this my deposition or yours?
Debbie, Michelle, myself, that we would be in like the night after shooting, preparing for the next day, we'd be working on the script with Emile, and he'd come up with these additions to the scenes. We're like, that's brilliant. That's in there. And we're like, yeah, that's in. And so he brought so much to the comedy of this. So naturally. So he was just a blast to work with as well.
He was very devoted as well. Very devoted to doing the best by Joseph, to getting every line right, to maximizing every moment. He really was all in.
You're a new map maker, Commandant. Then you can be of service.
Unfortunate. For you.
Is it possible to change my seat?
we were constantly massaging the script. So like the night before, we would radically change stuff. And, you know, some of it was his work writing as well. But we'd end up on the set and like the courtroom scene at the end, he plastered the walls with cue cards to be able to do the scenes. And it was seamless. I mean, he put it here and here, and he knew he was going to look here. He knew he was going to look there and this, and he would nail it. And we got through, he nailed stuff in like 1 or 2 takes, stuff you hadn't even rehearsed, you know, the day before. So the guy's extremely smart.
Wow.
And I did ask him, I said, how did you capture Joseph's personality so well? You know, were you reading a lot about him? What was the way? He said, no, I was exactly the same kind of person at that time. He said he was a prankster. Joseph was an incredible prankster. He did some crazy things to try and make people laugh. He wrote a whole book on all of his pranks. Emile said he was the exact same way. And so it's interesting that the two of them had such a close resemblance in their personalities. And that's why he enjoyed it so much. He could just really feel that part of Joseph that loved to make people laugh and loved to make light of the dark sides of life, you know, so.
And Emile is also an incredible artist. I mean, he totally
That's right.
You learned this after the fact.
yeah, way after the fact. And he definitely downplayed his abilities in the EPK interview, but he's an amazing artist. So that's just another level that he, you know, related to Joseph on.
Yeah. Debbie mentioned his resemblance in terms of, you know, his attitude and energy and all, but the daughters, Joseph and Rebecca's daughters, Hadassah and Slila, they said when they saw the early cut of the film, they saw Emile, they said he was our father. I mean, in terms of the way he, you know, came across, and that was like the biggest
Stature too.
Stature. That, you know, that was huge to hear them approve of him and his performance as their dad, and that makes it really hit.
Wow, that's incredible. That's amazing. Deborah, I really want to touch on the screenplay. This is not only a historic piece, but one based on true events, and a lot goes into crafting a story, you know, like this in terms of how to most effectively share this history, what details to include, what the screen time you have to work with, and then allowing us this time to see Joseph and Rebecca and for them to fall in love. That's like no easy task. So could you share with us what the process was like of writing this?
Well, this was the first script I've ever written, and it only took me 15 years. But no, basically what happened is I tried to hire writers in the beginning. I was determined that the girls I had met in Israel telling their parents' story on a tour that I was on, and they said, we've been praying for someone to make this a movie. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. I'd love to do it. Not having any idea of what I was getting myself into. The whole point was I really didn't know what I was doing. But as I started reading scripts, I started finding that I didn't like the way that these scripts were going, even though everybody was doing their best. I kept feeling like there were weird tangents that they went on instead of, you know, just using the book and using the story. The daughters also came and gave me hours worth of their parents' life story. So I got a lot from them. And I would share this with the different writers. But for some reason, it just went off in strange tangents. And eventually, you know, I felt that I could write it because I had read so many scripts. I said, you know, I think this is possible to do. And I learned that way. It's one of those things, too, that when you have a book to work from, it's so much easier than just going from, you know, this person saying this or the person saying that. At least Joseph Bau wrote his autobiography, and we were able to take the majority of the story from that. So it wasn't too hard, but it was really fun crafting the stories within the camp that gave hope. There wasn't a lot in the book that wrote about hope. Most of it was detailing how difficult and how tragic so many of his friends' stories were. You know, he had kind of a survivor's guilt. So we brought in different areas of people who talked about how both Joseph and Rebecca helped them. So bringing those stories in that weren't in the autobiography were very helpful to making the movie more entertaining.
Yeah, Michelle mentioned earlier, there's actually a documentary that we're working on simultaneously. And we actually had started working on that documentary prior to even production of the film because of the delays. And there's so much more to these characters than we could show within the time frame of the film. And I think we really nailed what we we could from an entertainment standpoint and an honesty of their characters and all that. But they're incredible people. I mean, there's things that people have to dig a little deeper on, and I think there's more legs for that.
That's exciting. When will we be able to see this documentary?
We're hoping
It's in progress.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
getting close
yeah.
to a cut. We've revised a few things, and it's looking better and better. We're hoping to have it come out within, the appropriate time, either side of the feature, and a lot of those will be distribution decisions and all that. But it's coming. It's right alongside the movie.
In the works.
Oh, great. I look forward to seeing that. I loved how the credits gave so much wonderful information and photos. I thought that was wonderful. I love watching true story films, and sometimes they don't give you anything like that at the end. So I was so happy you guys gave so much amazing information at the end. And that actually leads me to the song that plays, because there's an incredible song that plays during the credits called However Long Forever Is. Who made this song, and how did this song become a part of the project? Because I believe it was an original song written for the film.
Our daughter is actually the performer and the co-writer on that song. But Sean had worked with her on his series that he had. So he invited her to write a song for the film. She sat down to watch the film, and she said there's one line in the proposal scene, and that line is, "However long forever is, will you share it with me?" And the fun story behind that, and Inbar and I have talked about this recently, but in a script revision, that line somehow got dropped. And the night before we went to shoot that scene, Inbar comes to me and she goes, this line, "However long forever is, will you share it with me?" isn't in the scene anymore. And I said, "It isn't?" And she said, "It isn't. Can we put it back in?" And so we put it back in the night before and shot the scene the next day, the wonderful wedding scene. And that was the basis for the song.
Our daughter is Cameron. Her show or performing name is Ryn, R-Y-N, and very diverse talent, and no nepotism here. I mean, yeah, she's our daughter, but
Sean invited her in.
Sean invited her in. We were like, you got to nail this song, and if it isn't, no problem. There'll be other things, and they went out, and from what I understand, she and her co-producer Andrew Furs apparently wrote the song in 4 hours. And it was just sort of download. The bass, yeah, but we heard it after and it was, amazing. It didn't have the Prague Symphony, which we brought into it, from the score through John Coda. John Coda, the composer for the film, actually came up with pieces of the music. Cameron and Andrew worked together and integrated into this song that just everybody who hears it, like, they want to cry. There's something special about it.
So many of my friends, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I had so many of my friends after the screening come up to me and be like, "We tried to Shazam that song. What is that song?" Yeah, they were all Shazamming. That line is a beautiful line, and that song is such a beautiful song, and your daughter is magnificently talented, and I'm still blown away, and I can't wait to have it. And when can we have it? And when is it released? Is it out? When?
Yeah, that's like all part of strategy.
She was just on the strategy call earlier this morning.
Yeah, exactly. Sean's got a collaborator on another film who comes from the music industry, and she heard it, and so she's trying to help us find a label to release it through. And so we're very much in strategy sessions to capitalize on the song. And the goal always was to come up with a great song that would then point to the movie.
Yeah, Sean said, "I love a song like the end of Titanic."
Yeah.
And that's a little bit to chew off. Here, go. Let's see what you can do.
Good luck.
Yeah, please tell your daughter. I think it is so beautiful. And I too looked immediately like, what is the song? I need to hear it again right now. It's amazing. So I look forward to it coming out.
Thank you.
It's so good.
Tell her.
Thank you. We'll communicate that.
Rebecca Tenenbaum. However long forever is, share it with me. Just trying to give people hope. If you want justice, you're going to have to survive. Don't let them win me, Cal. There's some things that they can't take from us. Laughter, joy, our spirits.
Before we go, is there anything anybody would like to bring up about the film, the process of making the film, or any more about the history? Is there anything anybody else would like to say?
When we made this film, I thought I was making a film about something that happened 70 years ago. And with the events that have happened in the world, it resonates so much right now that I just want everybody to go see it. It was always our dream that people come out on Valentine's Day to see it, because it is a love story. And they got married on Valentine's Day in the Plaszow barracks, and then afterwards when they got out on Valentine's Day. So it's an important date for us, and I think it's an important date for everybody. And hopefully with that love song, it'll all come together on February 14th, 2025.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's exciting. Do any of you have any advice for aspiring directors, actors, writers, filmmakers, just anyone who wants to work in the entertainment industry? What advice would you give them?
Never give up. Don't give up. Even when the going gets tough and seems impossible, find projects, because it is a long, arduous road, but find projects that you really believe in, that you have to make. And then you will stick with it, even if it takes 15 years, 6.5 years, 5.5 years, 3 years, but you'll stick with it, because it is more than just a film, it's a labor of love.
And I'll say, and develop a habit and a propensity for multitasking. So the idea of, if it's going to take 15 years for a film, of course, that's not all you're going to do. So you have a handful of projects, and you parse up your time, and just know that the crazy things we hear about people in Hollywood, how they're doing this and they're doing this and everything, it's just the nature of the business in some ways. So that's part of it.
I would also add, don't compromise. So when you have something really special that you're working on, be sure to not easily give in to agreements or situations that you're not feeling good about. If there's any urge within you saying, "Ooh, I better wait. I bet this isn't feeling quite right," with whoever you're dealing with or whatever organization you might be, putting your property over to, just take things slow. And I always believe in a lot of prayer. Be sure to be praying your way through situations and asking who I call the creator of the universe to be the one to guide you, because there's a lot of risk involved with this industry, and a lot of people that do want to take advantage of other people. So the point is, always be thinking of your project as something very valuable, and that you don't easily let go of or hand to others. So that's my 2 cents worth.
I'll let Inbar go last, but mine is just practical. Just go do it. If you're a writer, go write something. Nowadays, you have an iPhone and your iPad. You can make a movie and go and shoot on the weekend. Do a one-day shoot. Get your couple of actor friends together. You need to do it. And then you learn from that. You'll be a better filmmaker the next day. The next weekend, do a 2-day shoot. Whatever you can do. Don't try to do a short or a feature right away. Get some scenes under your belt. Just go make movies, write a script, or act. I would just tell them, actors who come to me and say, "Oh, I'm going to give Hollywood a year." I go, "Gosh, I could just save you that year if you just quit now," because with that attitude, you can never be an actor. An actor comes from their soul. They have nothing else they can do. The same with writers, same with directors. You got to give it your all. And I find for those people who give it their all, it pays off. It takes a little time. Like Mark said, you got to have some other stuff going, but you just have to be passionate and know you will get better. And this is the best time to do it, because the technology is allowing you to do it and you'll get an audience. Like before, you could make a little Super 8 movie and nobody see it. Now you got YouTube. You can get as many people as you want, and they will come. You build it, they will come.
And I'll say one other thing to let Inbar then finish it off. In addition to what I said, the idea of team building is super key. It's a business. It takes a village. You can't do everything yourself. We can do more and more ourselves because of the technology that's right there. But developing and finding those gems and the people you want to work with, and continue that. Because if you look at some of the most successful producers, directors, they go to the same people a lot of the time because they know that it works and they cherish those relationships. So I would say that's really important. Find those nuggets and those gems and stay with those, folks in the right capacity.
Shucks, you guys took all the good ones. I couldn't agree more. I think all the points that you guys mentioned are really crucial. Like, don't give up, just get out there and do it. Really be precious and don't compromise. Like, and the teammates that are around you are gonna really push you to go as far as you all can go. I think they're all important. I think for me, I try to live by that. Recently, I've had I've had an experience that was very new to me. I'll give that as an example, but I kind of ran out of inspiration. I've been doing this for a while and I've done different things, not to say I've done everything, but I've done different things. And for some reason this past year, like nothing really excited me anymore. Nothing would, like make that, buzzy feeling inside that made me want to go out and create. And I would just say, if you ever run into that, you constantly have to find ways to get that fire going again, whether it is, watching other incredible work, going to a museum, listen to music, read another piece of whatever it is. I think as creators, we have to constantly surround ourselves with things that will get that fire ignited again and again. And that's how, for me anyways, that's how my work gets better. And that's something that I would suggest, is just keep that fire going.
Great. That was a lot of great advice. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dustin.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
it was
Dusty.
great to be here.
And for our viewers out there, Bau Artists at War will be screening at the Burbank International Film Festival Friday, September 27th at 7 p.m. at the AMC 16. Please come and support these amazing, talented filmmakers and their incredible film. For tickets, visit burbankfilmfest.org. Thank you all so much for your time. It was so wonderful to meet you, and I can't say enough how much I love this film. I can't wait for everyone to see it.
Thank you.
Justin, bye.
Thank you, crazy person.
Warn me if that ever changes.